The opposing 4-point hesitation roll. This video covers the opposing 4-point hesitation roll from the number 6 opposing solo perspective. This one's another crowd pleaser. The maneuver itself inside the showbox is fairly straightforward, but getting the timing right with your fellow solo pilot will take practice. As always, your job as number 6 is to be consistent. If you do that, this maneuver looks awesome. Briefing. For number 6, this maneuver actually starts after the clear from your vertical rolls. No matter which direction you clear, in front of or behind the crowd, you will need to stay out of the showbox and fairly slow to allow number 5 to complete the line abreast loop with the diamond. The goal is to be about 6,000 feet AGL at between 4.5 and 5 nautical miles away from show center and abeam the show line when number 5 calls, "Let me know when you're abeam." From there, it's a standard abeam setup and ingress, where you'll trade your extra altitude for airspeed. At about 0.5 nautical miles from center point, both pilots will initiate simultaneous 90-degree rolls to knife edge toward one another, and then immediately another 90-degree roll to inverted, crossing center point, abeam, and co-altitude. After the hit, each pilot will roll 90 degrees to knife edge again, and then 90 degrees yet again to wings level before performing a standard clear in front of crowd. The objective is to break a standard aileron roll into 4 equal parts to show off the precision maneuverability of the FA-18C Hornet. It's a flashy maneuver that's not too difficult on your own, but has complexity and danger when flying opposed. So let's dive in. Walkthrough. Welcome back to the cockpit of the F-18C Hornet. We are walking through the opposing 4-point hesitation rolls in this video, and in many ways it's a modification of the knife edge maneuver and builds on a lot of those concepts. So if you haven't watched that tutorial video, I recommend you do so, because some concepts like the abeam setup and the radio calls heading into the box are carryovers from that maneuver and are consistent with a lot of the other opposed maneuvers that we fly. Like the knife edge and a lot of the other opposed maneuvers, this maneuver begins with an abeam setup. It is non-standard though, because we have just cleared from the sneak to vertical roll, and that means that we are not going to be in the same place in the sky that we normally would be on a more standard abeam setup. So there's the airfield over there. We can see that number 5 is clearing with the diamond, or in this case, the simulated diamond. And he's out there somewhere over here. And he is clearing from, in this case, the line abreast flat pass, or because the conditions are good, he could have done a line abreast loop with the diamond. And then he will be clearing left of crowd, and we are just waiting for his call, and our job is to be in the right space in the sky so that we are abeam when he is abeam, and we can immediately begin the ingress for the 4-point. Because we're clearing from the sneak to vertical roll, we're going to be really high in the sky, and then ideally we will have cleared behind the crowd, and so we're just going to make a large arcing turn, keeping it very slow, and then we're going to basically work our way all the way out to around 4.5 to 5 miles and just ride the 5-mile line all the way to the abeam position. And you can see here I'm about 5 miles, and I'm now facing away from crowd, that heading, which is 154. I'm cheating out a little bit in order to keep my spacing, my beam spacing wide, so I'm closest to 5 miles. And I'm just riding that in so that I'm hopefully between 4.5 and 5 miles when the lead solo calls for me to be abeam. There's quite a bit of geometry that you kind of need to be doing in your head in order to set that up, and you might not clear behind the crowd. You might clear in front of the crowd, or you might clear on one of the right or left headings or somewhere in between. So you need to get used to kind of solving that math problem and getting in the right space in the sky. That also means that if you clear in front of crowd, for instance, or anyway 180 in front of crowd, you're going to be coming in pointing the opposite direction that we currently are. So you might be pointing the behind crowd heading, and that's perfectly fine, just as long as you're going to be a beam when you need to be, that your sight picture looks something like this when he's exiting the show box with the diamond. And the radio call that you're listening for is boss will give the call, five's call sign, detach. And that comes right after he gives the call for the formation to go diamond stinger, which is the diamond position plus a stinger, which is number 5, and he's flying slot below number 4 in the back of the diamond. When they're in diamond stinger, that means the next call is going to be number 5's call sign detached. That means 5 is now free from the formation. And as soon as he does that, we need to know that we're going to be in the right spot when he calls for us to be a beam. And that will happen within the next 10 seconds. He's going to begin basically a full 180-degree arcing turn, max G, because he's got to get back pointed towards center point pretty quick. And we just need to be in the right space when he asks for us, let me know when you're a beam, and we want to be a beam right then. And the reason why we stay so high in the sky up here while we're still at 5,000 feet instead of down more like 2,000 feet like we would be for a more standard setup is because we're also flying really slow. You can see we're doing just below 180 knots here, so just above stall speed. And the reason for that is because we're just hanging out in the right spot. We're trying to slow down and be in the right spot and just kind of hang out there so that whenever we need to be a beam, we are a beam, and we don't have to do some weird maneuver in order to waste extra time or point back toward the crowd, that we're just ready to turn in a nice easy 90-degree turn. But because we're so slow, we can convert our altitude into airspeed and use God's G to speed us up coming down the hill heading towards the show box. So because we already cleared really high from the sneak to vertical roll, we just stay up high. I usually actually stay about 6,000 feet. This replay we're at 5,000 feet, but my target is usually about 6,000 feet. And then I just hang out, hanging on the blades, 180 knots or so at 6,000 feet, and just wait for his call so I can turn in and I can use gravity to just pull me down the hill and get right to 400 knots quickly. So let's unpause and just watch how this goes. It's a standard beam setup. We're looking to just ride 400 knots all the way in every nautical mile to center point. Contract altitude inside the show box is 200 feet, which means because of the parallax, we're going to be benching up just slightly. So we're going to look for about 220, 230 feet. And we're also going to listen for number 5's radio call, which tells us which side of the center line we're going to be on. Almost all the time it's going to be we're further away from crowd, which in this case will be right of center line. So we're here. We're watching. I'm usually not even head in the cockpit. I'm just watching number 5 as he clears with the diamond and making sure that I'm going to be right abeam the show line when he calls. So he's detached here. You can see just barely he's starting his turn, which means he's about to call, let me know you're a beam. Usually calls it right around here, starting to turn back in. So I would call a beam. Let me know you can take your mark. And we're turning in full burners, rolling in whatever we need to do to get to 400 if we can at 4 miles. So here we are, 4 miles mark, 375, not bad. A little bit of brakes to hold 400, and we're coming in. And then at this point, number 5 will call, number 5's call sign is in for the right 4 point, because we're going to be on the right of the center line. And then I would respond to number 6, my call sign, Brother Leb's in, right 4 point. So that means I've heard it and I know where I'm supposed to be. Next call is, of course, 3 miles mark, 404, not too bad. We're trying to work it down and get back on the show line. We're a little angle here, and then we're coming in 2 miles mark, 398, a little slow, but not too bad again. And then we are getting toward our altitude. We're looking for 230, 220, something like that. Now that we're 2 miles out, we're just about to enter the show box. We're pretty good on our profile. We're doing just a little under 400 knots, just a little above our target altitude of 230. And we are right on center line flying the left show heading 064. Everything looks great. So we've done a pretty good ingress here, which is awesome. Now we're about ready to start the maneuver. So we're going to zoom in a little bit so we can get a better view of the HUD, better view of the show box and center point here. And we'll talk through what's going to happen. Once we're at 2 miles, we're not giving any radio calls anymore. At 1 mile from center point, number 5 is going to call for smoke on, and that's so that we can establish visual contact with the opposing solo pilot so that we can make sure that we are not on conflicting headings, so that we will not crash into each other during the maneuver. And as with previous maneuvers where we do this, as soon as we see the opposing pilot's smoke, we call contact, and then we both smoke off in coordination. He'll give a radio call for that. And then we're just getting ready for the actual maneuver itself. The maneuver is a 4-point hesitation roll. So it's a full aileron roll split into 4 segments of 90 degrees each. So 90, hold, 90, hold inverted until we cross one another, and then roll 90 again, hold, roll 90 again, wings level, and then we clear, standard show clear after that. There's some tricks for how to make sure that the maneuver looks good that I'm going to talk through when we get a little closer into the box, but that's the plan from here on in. So the next thing we're going to look for is that smoke on call and to establish contact. I'm going to slow down as we get back in so we can have a little more time to talk through what's going on. So at 1.5, I want to be on altitude. I'm flying a good speed though, good heading. I want to be able to set up a little bit right of him because when we roll, we're going to be rolling to the left. And so I want a little bit of space so that if I roll toward him, I'm not going to hit him. All right, so we're looking for smoke on. There's the smoke. You can see it. And then contact, smoke off. And then we're coming in for center point. All right, so right about now, I'm getting ready to do the yug at 2 degrees nose high to get the jet unloaded for the roll. Ready, hit it. There's the yug. Roll to the 90. Right around here, I'm going to bring in right rudder to hold altitude, and then roll to the 90 again. And now I'm full forward stick to maintain altitude. Good cross there. And then as soon as we cross, roll to the 90 again. Left rudder this time to hold altitude, and then rolling out to wings level. And we'll call clear. And then when we've heard clear from both, then he'll call the roll for the clear. Roll, pull to 104, well, a little shallow this time, then standard clear. Inverted, clear, roll to the knife edge, clear, and there we have the standard clear for the 4-point, and we are good to go. As you can see, it just builds on concepts we've been flying throughout the show so far, so it's actually not that hard to learn. There's a lot of detail, and getting it precise and getting it accurate and getting it on time, coordinated with your opposing solo pilot, is a challenge, and it takes a bit of practice and rehearsal to get this thing synchronized and looking good, but the actual profile is not hard to learn, so you guys shouldn't have too much trouble picking up this maneuver. You will have noticed in this replay, I rolled a little too quickly, I think. There wasn't quite enough hesitation in between the segments of the 4-point. If I was flying this a little better, I think I would have hesitated more between the segments of the 4-point to give a clearer division between each part of the 4-point roll, which looks better from the crowd instead of a smoother motion. But other than that, is a pretty good profile, all things considered. And so hopefully that gives you a picture of how to fly this maneuver, and you guys can pick it up quickly and put in the practice and make it look really good. Demo. Okay, let's take a look at an example of a 4-point from that Blue Angels Airshow we filmed a few months ago. This is a great showcase of problem solving, because you'll see that I am way out of position to start the maneuver. Pay close attention to the cooperation between Chariot and I and the adjustments we make to ensure that we get a good hit on center point.
Let me know when you're abeam.
Altitude.
Leb is abeam.
Let me know when you're ready to take a mark.
Take it.
Stand by, mark it.
4 miles, mark 400.
Straight's in for the right 4-point.
Leb's in right 4-point. 3 miles, mark 400.
Half mile behind, give me a little room.
Leb. 2 miles, mark 375. 1.5, mark 360.
Go.
Leb.
Smoke on. Contact.
Contact.
Smoke off. Ready, hit it.
Roll right. Roll left.
Clear.
Straight clear. Stand by, roll, and pull. Stand by, roll. Stand by, roll. Stand by, roll. Straight clear. Roll. Trade's clear and clearing in front of the crowd for the opposing vertical pitch 2.2 mark state 6.5.
And that's how the Legacy Blue Solos perform the opposing 4-point hesitation roll. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. where you can find the rest of the Legacy Blue Solos tutorial series, as well as full side-by-side show sequences and debriefs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the flight line.